This conference will now be recorded.
Good afternoon, welcome to the April 17th TAC meeting. Floor on the table for introductions.
Omar Herrera, Town Windsor Engineering.
Kim Corvinami, Tom Timness.
Shane Porter, Town Servants.
Mike Saunders, NFRMPO.
Anna Rose Cunningham, NFRMPO.
Dee McIntosh, CDOT Region 4 Planning.
Joseph Thomas, CDOT Region 4 Planning.
Dana Warhol, City of Fort Collins.
Rachel Rowland, City of Fort Collins.
Evan Pinkham with Brooke County.
Becky Carrasco with the NFRMPO.
And Mark Overschmidt, City of Evans. Anybody online like to introduce themselves?
Suzette Millett, Norfolk Range NPO.
And do we have any public comment either in the room or online? Not seeing any. Next item on the agenda is approval of the March 2024 meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve.
Thank you, Omar.
Second.
Thank you, Dana. Motion made, seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Next item on the no consent agenda this month. Oh, air quality, sorry, I skipped up here. Got the number 3 already. Regional air quality updates.
Yes, so I have a couple of updates from Tom Moore. He's not able to be here today. He just wanted me to pass on a few events that are coming up that are air quality related. Most of them are within the Denver metro area, but just wanted to pass them along. And I can send these out as well for the links to register. But there are mower trading events. So there's about 3 coming up, 2 this month and then 1 in May. They're in Federal Heights, Denver, and then Globeville or Sunnyside neighborhood. It's TBD. So I can send that out. There's also the Fight for Air Climb that'll be on April 27th. It's a Simple Steps Better Air initiative, and that is something that we do promote up here when we go out for our public outreach. We do the outreach for the RAC in the North Front Range area. So that is the American Lung Association event that's happening. That will be at Coors Field. And then on June 1st, there's something called the Outside Festival in Civic Center Park in Denver. Again, another Simple Steps Better Air event that's happening down there. And I can send all these out like I said. And that's all that I have.
Thank you, Becky. Okay. Next item on the agenda is action item fiscal year 24-25 UPWP.
Unified Planning Work Program.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Fantastic.
So as I mentioned last month, there are several new tasks that are being updated for FY 2025. There's one task that is MPO specific, so that's task 5.3, Transportation Demand Management, and that is just adding the FY 25 deliverables. There were only deliverables for FY 24 in there for the first part of this UPWP. We're just adding the 2025 ones, also kind of contingent on the TMO and things like that. And some staff changes that we have. The remainder are Appendix B local agency tasks. So there are 2 from Transport and then 1 from Greeley. The Greeley one was in the previous UPWP, so the FY 2022 to 2023. It was previously called their mobility plan, I believe. Now it's mobility development plan. It's a transportation plan. We changed the name, but it did not get completed and it kind of fell off the radar as we were adding it back in. So it's a new task, but it's not really a new task. And then the 2 new transport tasks that are being added. Happy to take any questions at this time. This will be combined with the budget that is being reviewed by the Finance Committee
tomorrow, so they're meetings.
Any questions online? Thank you, Becky.
Do you need a vote?
Oh,
Yeah.
Thank you. So I need a motion and a second. Well, thank you.
Motion to recommend.
Motion to recommend, I got a motion over here.
Second.
Second, thank you, Dana. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Presentation time.
I have the. Thank you. Yeah, Anna Rose, before we get started, I can email my packet to your email. No, but I can mention it now while she's sharing.
Yeah, give me just a minute.
Yeah, so I'm Rachel Brulin again with the City of Fort Collins, and I'm in the FC Moves department, which is our transportation planning. So we adopted our Vision Zero plan a year ago this month. It's 1 year old. The city had committed to moving towards, as part of the CDOT's moving towards zero in 2016, but had never created an action plan. And so, as happens most of the country, the severe traffic crashes, fatality and serious injury crashes have continued to increase. So we did decide to do an action plan to hopefully we could start at least stop the acceleration, stop the increase, and hopefully eventually bring those down and get to zero. So
Sorry, you've been.
Yeah, so I can follow a little bit more. No, it's all right. I can talk a little bit more about the plan, and then we can go to the website. But so it was kind of a high level plan. We were a bit limited on funding, so it wasn't like the active modes plan, which has lots of projects and is very, very specific. That work will have to be done at some point. But we do have, we identified transformative actions and supporting actions, so 11 transformative actions that are our highest priority, and then supporting actions are things we also want to do. So I believe it's one of the supporting actions is rapid response meetings to severe crashes, where severe crash is a serious injury or fatality crash. As we started kind of digging into that particular action item a little more, we're realizing that, oh, well, we're having 300 plus severe crashes a year. So to have 300 plus rapid response meetings is a little impractical. And so we're kind of talking about how do we pick, which ones. And then we also had started, before the plan was even adopted, we'd started doing these Vision Zero site visits. And it wasn't necessarily in response to like the most extreme crash. In fact, our first one was selected because there'd basically been a request for something along these lines. There was a bicycle crash. There was injuries. It wasn't, one of the most severe crashes. But it's one of our heaviest used bikeways, it's Loomis Street. And it did involve a bicyclist who was commuting to CSU. It was like a CSU graduate student on the bicycle and a CSU undergraduate in the car. She ran a stop sign she didn't see. So we all went out and visited that location. And that was our first one. So yeah, go ahead and scroll down. So, okay, I did want to kind of point at the high injury network briefly. This was, so severe crashes, particularly fatalities, can be somewhat random in nature. And so the best practices and exactly how you go about doing this, there's a lot of different methods, but the best practice is to not just chase the fatalities, but to come up with some kind your high injury network, where you think fatalities are most likely to occur. And it is based on severe crash data, on your crash history, but particularly severe crashes, not all crashes. That's an important distinction. So go ahead, scroll on down some more, a little bit more. A little bit more. Okay. On there, you see there's the tabs, Vision Zero site visits, right? So we did 4 of them in 2023, and the Vision Zero plan was adopted in April of that year. And that picture there is the one at Magnolia and Loomis that we did at the dead of winter with lots of snow, which is kind of fun because then the snow is like showing you, the step down is showing you where traffic is not moving on the road. I'm going to click on the Magnolia and Loomis. So for each of these, we had city staff there from several departments. We had some stakeholders like by Fort Collins, for example. We had neighbors who would come out and chat. And CSU police and Fort Collins police also. So we had a range of people present. This one didn't have anyone from traffic, but future ones we did. And we had we did have Lance from traffic. And then we had engineers showing up with a couple of these too, that they had a lot of fun with this. So we, just spent some time there on the site chatting about what happened if there was a crash that was relevant. We did, not all 4 had like a recent crash. And we walked through it, walked through the intersection and scrolled down to that. And then I would write up this report. We're describing like what we did, there's our observations. And then I finished with suggestions to reduce crashes at this intersection. So I very carefully did not use the word recommendations. So I wanted to chat a little bit about what some of the concerns were and why we haven't done any in 2024. Why we did these 4 and then we kind of stopped doing it. And that was because there's been some concerns from staff about how we were doing it. The idea of taking people who aren't city employees to a location because we know it's dangerous. There was definitely some concerns about that. I think that could be solved with some waivers. So probably should have everybody sign waivers. We also were kind of wrestling with, like I said, 300 plus potential spots where we could do these. How do we choose? So we're working on developing some criteria as to at what point do we do some sort of deep dive, maybe a desk review, and at what point does it reach the level of the perhaps half a dozen we could do each year of actually going and visiting a site. We feel like 6 is about what we could manage to organize because they're a little bit of work to facilitate and then, write up all the information about it. There's also been some concerns about, this is posted on our website. Anybody can read it. Today I would not be able to post that because it's a PDF, so that would have some difficulties. But just the idea of, we have these suggestions about what we could do at this intersection that we publicly put on a website that anybody could read. So there's some concerns about, does this mean we're now committed to doing those? Like, what if there's something terrible happens and someone's like, you said back in 2023 that if you did this, so some concerns about managing our, I guess, liability or expectations by posting something publicly like that. And then including outside agencies and just residents, like the neighbors who lived on that corner came out and started chatting with us. Are we now responsible for their presence? Do I say, here, sign this before you say anything? How does that work? So it's been fun exercises. I really enjoyed doing them. I would love to do some more, but we do have some things to work through so that everyone feels comfortable. And it was great having engineering and at some of those too. They got pretty enthusiastic about it and about like what we could do. And that's another thing that can lead to why we might prioritize one location over another, is that there's maybe a project coming up here that we could take a closer look at this intersection from kind of a Vision Zero point of view. That's what I have.
And the one thing, I've got roped into attending this US 85 10 meeting, and I don't know if you guys attend those, because you're not on the 85 corridor, but they've been eye-opening for me, because I'm not a first responder or anything like that, but it's interesting how those guys think, and then from an engineering perspective, how we can do better designs to make intersections safer. So that, it might be worth it, and actually, we're hosting it next week in Evans. If you guys would be interested, I could send you the invite, maybe you want to attend it, and just meet some of the people who are attending.
Did it never come through? I'm trying to, oh, it did, oh, good. Trying to join. So we do similar in Loveland, probably stole some of the ideas, so we see them up here again, but we do a very similar assessment roadway safety audit is what we're calling this, and doing this sort of ahead of all of our capital projects. This one is for the 287 and US 34 meeting, and I think you both highlighted probably the most important component is bringing all of those folks together with different perspectives, right? Someone who's focused on the connections to trails and bikes, and then others that are focused on the engineering roadway. Law enforcement is they see the crashes right after they've happened, and they have great feedback about maybe, when the sun is setting right behind those signal heads, it's hard to see the red signal heads. We have a lot of red light running in this, or just they see things from a different perspective than we see it. So going out and doing those site audits with the team that looks at this problem from a number of different perspectives is probably the most useful piece. If you want to scroll down just a little bit, I think we have some pictures in here. So obviously the crash data, volume data, those are the normal metrics we as engineers will look at when we're trying to solve these problems. But getting people out there to start to, and page 5 and 7, I think, this kind of shows some of the observations that we had made while we were out there. So the reflective back plates, trying to help people see the signals as the sun is setting on that west side, adding some additional lighting to help. We had 3 crashes, right turn crashes with vulnerable road users. So I think 1 person was using a mobility device and 2 were pedestrians at this intersection. And just doing some things to help make the pedestrians stand out was one of our goals, or one of the things we observed when we were out there. So, and if you scroll down to the next one, I think it's just kind of this is a couplet of intersections. Just noticing some of the approaches, how people are weaving in and out of driveways, and things we might be able to do with the design to help improve some of those situations. And then we have in our little table up above, and this presentation is so one column. So you observe all of these things, you look at the data, so what are you going to do about it, and how do you incorporate that into your design? And I think that was really the most useful piece of this, is you bring everybody out in the field and you make these observations, and then what are the next steps to get those things incorporated into the design? That's all I have. And we can share this with the meeting minutes. This is in draft format. It got finished this morning, so fresh off the presses. We haven't had a chance to review it yet. So. And next phase helped us with this, Joe Martina.
Anything else? Any questions? I would say that with Fort Collins, we had some traffic calming issues, and we borrowed, and we're beginning to take what you guys have developed as far as criteria for establishing traffic calming in neighborhoods where we're getting complaints, and if they're realistic or make sense, but we can't just go out and blindly do them, because we'd be spending lots and lots of time and money to do them. So we're trying to set up a criteria just to make it logical decisions, so we don't, because my traffic calming money comes from my traffic officers. And then, even though they write a lot of tickets and everything, so.
I have a quick question. How does this effort feed into your capital improvement project planning and prioritization?
So we use a lot of this data. We have a prioritization of all of our projects. We have sort of an operational component where we keep certain level of service information. And then the safety data and criteria, which we use severe injury crashes. We do have a column for some proactive, so if we're seeing near misses or, some proactive elements, we haven't quite dialed that piece in, but I'm hoping doing more of these site visits will give us some better criteria to incorporate that. Right now, that's an unscored element in ours. It's just something that we're noting in our prioritization. But as we get more information, we're able to populate that across the projects. We'd be able to put a score to that and prioritize it with the rest of the data that we use.
As far as that study was sort of, I think, kind of just preceded when we started, like they were just wrapping up that effort as we were starting to do these. So it didn't, but that, yeah, as we were kind of grappling with some of these questions, one of the questions is, what do we do with this information? And that's, I think, both what we would do with it and also would help us to, we'll do this intersection because it's also been identified in our, as an intersection of concern. So it would be very relevant to do this exercise and incorporate it into that.
Awesome.
Okay, if there's no other questions, we move on to the next item. 2024 NPO public outreach and roads.
Thank you. Just a second. Let's go back. So in January of this year, we talked to the TAC about some of our plans for public outreach for the year of 2024. And so wanted to bring that back up again to kind of show where we're at and then talk through some of the things that had been presented at the January meeting. So the list that we have here is kind of like a draft list of events that we have upcoming. This list was presented as these are what we normally do, and we had intended on doing all of them this year, but there's been some scheduling conflicts of some of the events overlapping days, and so can't attend them all. And also, the Windsor Harvest Festival sold out very quickly, so we didn't have an opportunity to register for that. So we're trying to fill in some of those and are definitely open for recommendations on events that we can attend in some of the places that aren't listed. But also, if you have, one of the things we had talked about in January is things like open houses that you might have, project meetings, things like that, that we can kind of piggyback on. I would just ask that you let us know when those are happening and see if that kind of makes sense for us to also be there to talk about some of the work that we're doing. So when we talk about a lot of what we will be focusing on in this public outreach season is our active transportation plan, the TDM stuff that we're working on, so the US 34 TMO, Ride NOCO and the mobility program, and then the freight plan that we are working on as well. In addition to just general outreach and education about the NPO, because a lot of people don't know that we exist, which is surprising. Another thing that we'll be doing is bike to work day stations. We have in the past co-hosted several stations. Last year, we did the most that we'd ever done. We did Fort Collins, Loveland, Windsor, Greeley, and Evans, and if all of those locations are hosting stations this year, we hope to do that as well. If there are any agencies that will be doing stations for the first time this year, please let us know and we can figure out if we have the capacity and staff to be able to help co-host a station. So one of the things that had been brought up at the January meeting was making sure that the NPO staff knew kind of what was going on in our local agencies, and also just so that we can talk to people who come talk to us about what's going on and current concerns in the relevant jurisdictions. And another thing is that as so many people have been doing so much around the region, wanting to have a place to track what all was going on. So this can help not only us as we're out at outreach events, so that we know like what's going on, like what kind of planning initiatives are going on in our local agencies, but also having this posted on our website kind of as a living document to, for you all to be able to add things into as well. So I have it just, this is a document, the link was in the handouts packet. It should be something that, as long as you have that link, you can edit. But just really kind of basic, having kind of the topic, what kind of events or activities are happening. And then the link to more information about it. So I filled it in with some of the information that I currently know, but we would definitely ask for you all to be able to add in more there, or reach out to me so that I can add it in there. But have it broken out by agency, and then also having some of the statewide initiatives and regional. So not only us, but things like Front Range Passenger Rail and the RAC, just so we can help distribute information about what's going on in the region and how people can get involved. So with that, I just want to open it up for any discussion, recommendations, etc.
Okay, Susan, I'm gonna probably, once we set a date for an open house for our phase 3 of 37th Street, which is STDG funded, I might invite you to that. It'll be at Prairie Heights Middle School sometime in the September, October timeframe, is what I'm thinking. But also, last night one of our council members volunteered for the TMO, and I gave him a real short, this is what it is kind of thing. But it might be worthwhile to, at a work session with our council, to explain what TDM is and what TMO is, and what the goal is, because I just grabbed something really fast and just threw it at him and said, here it is. I didn't get any detail, but he didn't ask any questions, but he might have some role as he rolls into the role and figure it out, but that might be worthwhile, and I'd be happy to organize that.
And I know one thing specifically, we do have a fact sheet that was recently created about specifically the US 34 TMO. And so we will have that at our events, and I believe we can send that out as well.
Any questions or comments online? Oh, we got a hand raised.
Yeah, this is Phil Von Hake with CDOT Multimodal Planning. Thanks for all that info, Anna Rose. You mentioned there's additional info in the handouts, and I'm looking on the NFR website, meeting materials, TAC, and under April 17th, I only saw the link to the packet, not the handouts like usual.
I can make sure to include that, but if not, I can make sure that that gets posted. Oh, that's strange. Huh. Yeah, I'll make sure that that gets posted. I had checked that this morning and thought it was there. That is not
No worries,
email.
thanks.
Right? Yeah.
I'm looking at it right now. That's wrong email.
Phil, it's in your email. You also likely could find it at, just at the link for it. It's definitely uploaded to us.
Okay, thank you. Next, we got outside partner reports. No code that is handout. Is there somebody online you want to talk about? Regional transit agencies? I don't see anyone.
Is there anybody on that?
Mobility updates is a handout. I guess I'll Corey. And reports, looks like they're all handouts. Does anybody has anything to add? I noticed I'm on the yellow list on the inactive, so I better get that done. I think I'm all done, I'm just waiting. Well, do we have anything else? I think we can go to roundtable. Start with my left.
All right. For Larimer County, a couple items. I noticed on one of the slides here, we had a link to our transportation funding site. And we are looking at, we've sent out a survey, to like 50,000 text messages. I don't know if anyone here has received that or not. Regarding transportation funding, potential sales tax. We're not thinking moving forward with that, but the commissioners wanted to get an idea of where people stand with that. And then the other thing, I was just gonna ask a question. We received the request for the letter of support for the NPO and CDOT Segment 5 grant. I walked in late, so I apologize if we talked about this at all, but can we get an update maybe on that grant application?
What would you like to know?
I don't know.
It's basically the same application, just a few updates that was submitted by Bell County for the previous round of mega funds that was not successful, so CDOT is changing a few things up, editing some stuff, doing the ECA, the MPO, so I'll be splitting it. And it's due on the 6th, that's when the grant closes, what we want to do. It's the same project as for the other.
Yeah, here in Windsor, we just advertised for a transportation engineer planner position. Eric Brackey's going to be retiring in June, so we're hoping to get somebody on board before he retires to help us with that overlap. Yeah, download everything. And then our 11th Street mobility project right here, multimodal project. We had a pre-bid this week and had 12 contractors show up. So that's promising.
Was it a mandatory period?
Actually, I'm not sure. I don't know. But yeah, that project, we're hoping to start sometime here when school gets out.
All right, Town of Timnath, we just released an RFP for traffic on-call services. So that will be the first for us, and then we will be releasing an RFP hopefully later this week for a bridge design on County Road 5. So excited to finally get started.
I really don't have anything with Stubborns. We've got several things working, but longer before, so.
This will be my last TAC meeting. I am leaving NFRMPO to become an EMT. So thank you all. I wish you well.
Oh, good luck.
Thank you.
Wow, that's cool. So neat. Congratulations.
So the MPO is also going to be applying for a prioritization process pilot program discretionary grant. This is something that came out of bill that is available to MPOs and DOTs to work through kind of like our call for projects process. So we are going to be applying for funding for that so that we can further develop our call for projects process and look at evaluation processes of implemented projects. And so we have asked, or we are asking for TAC to submit a letter of support. Mark, our chair, would be the one to sign that. But I do have a draft letter that I'm going to send out to our TAC representatives and am asking for feedback on that letter so we can get the finalized version to Mark to sign. So I will be sending that out after the meeting today, but also will if anybody has any questions about that, happy to answer any questions.
They're asking for $250,000.
Yes.
So, you know.
And it's 100% federal, so there is no local match requirement. So excited about that.
I don't have anything. I don't have anything for this group today.
We began construction at College and Trophy intersection improvements earlier this month. And construction on that project's divided up into 3 phases where we're doing some wall work initially and prep work. And then phase 2 is where the bulk of the underground and utility work is being done. And then phase 3 is basically the finished package for service work and amenities, that type of thing. And then later this month, we'll begin work on the final phases of the Port Corridor project on the east side, which will then transition into the west side of the work that's already been performed.
Who's your contractor?
Zachary.
Yeah, for Weld County, we received grant funding from SS4A, Safe Streets for All, for a safety action plan. So we received $400,000 and we're going to match it with $100,000. So right now we're just finalizing the bid documents for that and getting that underway. So we might have some public outreach events during that process. I'm sure we will. And it might be a good time for, to invite you guys. So more to come on that as we kind of work to get a contractor on board or a consultant on board.
I will just note for anybody who is doing an SS4A grant, if you have like a advisory committee, please let us know so we can help participate in that.
Yeah, you'll be on that too. Lots of conversations.
We are finally bidding TAC 34, so it's been a very long road to get to this place. We're super excited. We'll hope to start that project in July of this year, start construction. So hopefully we'll see that out this week, I think.
So I have 2 updates. One is we will have a planner starting next Thursday. His name is Mark. He'll be starting as a planner 2, and he is not replacing, but he is filling Alex's vacant position. And so he will be starting, as I said, on the 25th. And we are working on finalizing, and I don't want to jinx it, hiring someone to fill the vacancy that Mike will be leaving. So I'm more about that, and hopefully I'll have something next month. That's all I have.
Evans awarded the contract last night to Colorado Paving for the next phase of 37th Street. So, and unfortunately, we do have to close the road during that construction because they have Atlas Gas working on the same section of the road because they have to move their gas line in order for us to finish the project. So we're looking forward with that. And it's going to be a busy summer, hoping to wrap up all our maintenance work by the end of July and then start planning for next year. I see 1 or 2 hands raised in there.
Suzette?
Yeah, since everybody's talking about changing in staff, I thought I'd also jump in there on that one. So as many of you know, I am retiring this year. So August 1st is my last day with the MPO. So the executive director posting closed last Friday. We're going through the initial cuts for that position. We'll be doing a first round of interviews next week. And from there, moving it on to full interviews with the council and some meet and greets with staff and all that. So within the next few months, you'll be seeing a new executive director at North Front Range. So just want to give you guys an update on that.
Thank you. Any others? I didn't see any. All right, we've been final public comment, either on the line or in the room. Seeing none.
There's somebody else with their hand raised.
This is Stephen Youngkin, City of Greeley. I can provide a couple updates. I'm speaking for Bouchon, who's unable to make this meeting today. So the first of all is our yearly pavement management program just got released recently. So that's our Keep Greeley Moving program for citywide pavement rehabilitation. We're going to have a very big year for concrete sidewalk improvement this year, which we're excited about. The other update is we did apply for a SS4A demonstration grant. We decided to go big for about $9.5 million of various treatments and improvements for kind of these quick build traffic calming features. So we're looking forward to hearing back some positive results from that application.
And Jason was the next one.
Hey everybody, quick update for Johnstown. We too have started our pavement management program. We've awarded our concrete rehab phase of this to Lightfield Enterprises. They'll be going out doing all the concrete work prior to all the asphalt patching and overlay that we have planned. We do have an invitation for bid that's active right now on Rocky Mountain E-Purchasing for the asphalt work, and we're hoping to award that next month. And that's all I really have.
So does anybody have any suggestions for next month's agenda? Oh, Jerome just raised his hand.
So I just want to give a quick update on the active transportation plan. So we are up to 196 respondents to the survey, which is a lot more than I was anticipating at this point. So I'd like to thank everyone who did share that survey out. And we have translated it into Spanish. I have yet to put it into the actual survey, but I'll be doing that prior to the summer outreach season. And then I did make these little cards that do have the QR code for the survey that we'll also be distributing at outreach seasons to really hope that we get some good feedback to put into the plan.
Thank you. No more hands popping up?
Not yet.
All right, we're gonna cut them off. Next month, anybody have any suggestions for the agenda? Or items coming up? Not seeing any in here. Any online? No. The next month's meeting is in this room again? Same bad time, same bad channel? Look at that, an hour.
You're faster than ever.
Well, there wasn't a whole lot to talk about. So that's part of it. If there's a lot to talk about, then it gets interesting. I won't be here in September, so we gotta. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks.